I heard you're on the fence. You're thinking about building a new home, but you're not sure. Maybe you want to buy a house instead. I'm going to talk to you today about the differences in building versus buying an existing home from a real estate lawyer's perspective. I'm Tiffany Weber, and I'm a real estate lawyer in Mooresville, North Carolina, and I love putting out videos just like this one to explain common legal concepts in real estate law. Let's talk about building first. So there are a lot of different ways you can go about building a new home. Sometimes you're buying something called a spec house. That's what a lot of builders call it, and that's where they own the lot already and they start building a home in the way they want to build it. And usually that's because it is an efficient way to build homes. It's faster because you're not waiting on a homeowner to make decisions. And then usually towards the end of construction or 2/3 of the way through construction, a buyer will come in and say, "This is the home that I want." And by the end of construction, a lot of times the builder will let you be involved in selecting finishes. So that would be, your hardware or your appliances or maybe your countertops. But mostly everything has been selected by the builder up to that point. And you don't own the lot already. So when you close, you are closing on the property, so the land itself and the improvements thereon all at one time. Now, the other way that you can build a house is you can go out and find your own lot somewhere. So that could be in a neighborhood and you buy a lot, or that could be somewhere that doesn't have a platted subdivision like you traditionally think of. It could just be out in the country. That's what a lot of people like to do around here, is go find a big piece of land and they buy it. They might wait a little while and interview builders, but they are choosing just about everything from the floor plan, the elevation, which means what it looks like on the outside, how big it is, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and the builder is coming in and making the house exactly the way the homeowner wants it. Now, usually because the homeowner has so much say in the process, it can take longer to build than a spec home. And that's because it's really hard to make all of those decisions, especially if you've never built a custom home before. Now, one good thing about building a home versus buying a home is that it's brand new. No one has ever lived there other than you once you move in. And usually if there are issues with the home were caused by the builder or one of the trades, there's a warranty, or the builder, because they want you to be happy, that's how their business grows, comes in to correct any issues. Now, when it comes to buying a home, you are buying a home that at least one person has already owned. And in our North Carolina contract, you're buying a home as is. That means that you are going under contract relying on the seller's representations in the property disclosure to decide whether you want to enter into the contract, and you've probably seen the home just one time. And then once you sign the contract, you're having to get all of these inspections, and you are making sure that the home lives up to what the seller said it was, and that there were no hidden issues that you're going to have to spend a lot of money to resolve. But because the contract says as is, unless you negotiate otherwise beforehand, the seller generally does not have to make any repairs to the home. So if you find a big issue and you need to back out of the contract, you're going to lose your due diligence fee, and depending on the timing, you're probably going to lose your earnest money too if it's after due diligence has expired. So there's not as much leverage as you have in a new build to get issues corrected. Now, that's not to say that one choice is better than another. A lot of it has to do with your tolerance for waiting for a home to be built. When it comes time to close on your home, whether you are buying an existing home or a new build, it can be different. So when you're buying an existing home, you just close one time. That's on the land itself, the improvements, all of it, you close one time. But if you're buying a home that is new build, you may be closing once on the lot, and then you may be closing again on the construction loan. And then depending on the product of your lender, you may close again to finance your permanent loan. A lot of lenders these days have something called a construction to permanent loan, so you're just closing one time. So unless you're paying cash to build, you are potentially looking at 3 different closings. Now with a spec home, it's just like buying an existing home. You're just closing one time. So those are things to consider when you're looking at building versus buying. If you're closing several times and you are paying closing costs every time that you close, you're paying for a lender's title insurance policy every single time, an attorney, all of that. So that's another thing to consider when you're deciding whether to buy or to build. All right, everyone, I hope that was helpful in explaining the differences in buying versus building from a real estate lawyer's perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm Tiffany Weber, and I'll see you in the next video.